Good. I'll start first and foremost saying thank you to our student body more than anything. I thought last week they did a phenomenal job. I know it wasn't our home game, which I still don't know how, but it wasn't our home game, and I thought they did an awesome job. They were there early. I don't know that I didn't expect that, but I know that I believe they may have started a little faster than we did, and I really appreciate that, as well as the entire crowd. I mean, I really thought it was really, really good. I think that had it been our home game, maybe we'd opened up the upper deck. I think we could have filled that thing. So it was awesome to see our people. It started with our students, but also the fans. And as you know, it's a rivalry game, and that doesn't mean it's ever going to be easy. And it was a hard fought game. We didn't play well, I think, to start with. Obviously, we had some turnovers and some things like that. But all in all, the objective is to win the football game. And for the first time since 1915, we took the lead in 60-59, 60-59-7, and we're happy, excited, and proud of that. But as you know, it's time to move on, and we did that Sunday probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock. We moved on, evaluated it, and now on to Indiana. And this is going to be a great challenge for us. This is I know it's something we've looked forward to. Obviously, getting them into our home stadium, and excited for Nippert Stadium really to be rocking. And I think that's what we've said, and you've seen, and you guys know about it. One of the tougher stadiums to play in college football, and that's what I would expect on Saturday. We've got a job to do, and I know just like last week, our student body and our fans will do their job, and I think I know I'm excited about it. I know our entire team is excited for that.
Questions for Coach? Joe, in the back. You can go.
Just go ahead.
See what happens when I don't go first.
Luke, how important do you think last year's win at Indiana was to kind of kickstarting your big national league more attention?
Well, it was big, but it was big in a lot of different ways. Obviously, every year you're going to go through adversity, and I've said I thought it was probably the worst 28 minutes of football we played in a while, and we did not play well. We didn't handle the atmosphere quite as well. Maybe the heat, all the different things. Being on the road, we did not handle that well, and for us to find a way to kind of rally the troops, gather ourselves, and win a big game on the road. So that was kind of the start. Not that we didn't believe and think we had a really good football team, but more than anything, to be down the way we were, to kind of be facing what it is that we were facing on the road. I thought that really helped define us kind of as a team, because every year you're different. And I think that was the point last year where we found out a lot more about all the other things we had around us. We knew what Desmond Ridder was going to be like. We knew what a lot of those other guys. But how were those guys really going to come together? And that second half in particular, the last minute and a half of the first half, I thought was really, really big for the growth of our season last year.
You talked on Saturday about the offense looking a little different, maybe kind of taking some of Ben's strengths. You are throwing the ball a lot more than you have in your 6 years here. Are you comfortable with that?
We're comfortable with winning and scoring points, and every year, you're going to be a little different, and that still doesn't get away from who we think we are and who we want to be, and for us to be able to establish and find the guys that are going to carry the running game. I think more than anything is where I think we still got to grow. We're not going to get away with being a top 15, top 10 team in the country throwing the football. I mean, the reality is the teams that are the top 2 and 3 in the country usually aren't always the best, just like the top 2 or 3 teams running the football aren't always the best because they don't have balance. So for us to continue to grow, we know we've got to be able to throw the football, but we've got to make sure we've got enough balance. I'm not saying we didn't. Obviously, Chuck rushed for over 100 yards, and I think that was really, really good for a team that, basically in the past had said they're not going to allow you to run the football. I think Kentucky rushed for 40-some yards, and they had done a really good job. But I know for us to continue to develop, we've got to create and make sure that we've got balance in what we're doing, and that's establishing that ability to be able to run the football a little bit more.
No air raid or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't know that it doesn't have to fit my personality. Again, at this age, you better be able to adapt and adjust, but better be able to adapt and adjust what those guys inside that room can do.
You talked about splash plays and wanting to be explosive. I think there plays of 15 yards or more. Are you happy with where they're at in terms of being able to both run and pass in some of the big ones?
Well, that's been the difference in that rivalry game. We were plus 11 in the explosives last week. Obviously, we didn't win the turnover margin, which is where we've done not as good a job in that game in particular. But some people would say, the analytics people of the world would say, that turnovers aren't as big a deal. It comes down to the explosives. I don't know, and I do know that I don't agree with them. But I know at times that there's things that can balance things out, and you've got to be able to find ways to create explosive plays. Just like defensively, you got to find ways to eliminate explosives and create havoc. And that's where we have done a good job. Each and every week we've done a really good job at finding ways to create explosives, whether that's throwing the football, whether that's getting the ball into space, and running the football and popping them. But it really comes down to, the space stuff. I say it all the time for the back, get them to the second level and let's see people have to tackle them. The skill guys get the ball out there into all that space and make people have to tackle them. We've done a really good job of that, and I think that's, obviously was the difference in last week's game.
With the Indiana game coming up, your first 4 weeks have a very big difference in skill level from each team week to week. How difficult does that make it, or how much does it change in how you prepare going into this game?
You don't prepare any different. Obviously, the unique one is always the triple option stuff, and sometimes it takes a week or so to kind of get back into the swing of things. And we used to do a study that after playing a triple option teams, a lot of teams had not fared well the following week. I don't know if that study still holds up. That was 4 or 5 years ago. But I do know that there are some things that make it a little bit more difficult on you, just with the development of you as a defense. But I think that's, each and every week there's going to be different things. We didn't tackle well in the very end of the season last year, but as you look back at it, you'd say, okay, well, you're tackling different people as well. So I think we knew going into this season that we were going to be a little bit front-loaded with this schedule. We knew we needed to do some things in fall camp to prepare ourselves. I don't know that we did a great job of that in week 1, but I think we've done a much better job as we continue to move forward. And, I think from here on out, we're going to see more and more skill. Our league is full of skill as well, and people are going to spread it out, get the ball in space, and you've got to do a really good job of having the ability to tackle and leverage things, especially defensively.
You mentioned after the game you weren't sure if Kiner was available late. Did you find out? Do you have any updates on him?
Well, he was there. I don't know if he was available as much, but we was a little bit dinged up. They didn't feel really comfortable. I know he did. He had told us that he felt good. He was ready to go. And that's a part of that, not knowing him real well. Obviously, he's only been here for a short amount of time, and we've got to put guys in situations so that we can learn to trust them more and more. So I put that a little bit on me, that I wish I would have got him in there to see. But again, when a guy's got a little bit of something and you're not positive, you want to be smart. And I think that's the good and the bad of having a Charles McClellan that you got the utmost confidence in, to be able to leave in there and just kind of tote it the rest of the way, is a good thing. But I don't know that in the long run that's what's going to be best for us, because we know we're going to have to develop a lot more of those guys and gain some more confidence in Corey and Miles and those guys. So, I wish we would have had a little bit different opportunity. I wish we would have got him in there and maybe seen him in those situations. But we'll see a lot more of him as we move forward.
I think the idea of a undefeated Big Ten team coming to Nippert Stadium might be bigger of a media headline than you guys would probably see. Obviously a team you respect, but it's not the big deal to you guys as it is to maybe the media headline. But I'm curious, do you feel like what you guys accomplished last season by beating Indiana, beating Notre Dame, going to the playoff, that you no longer have to circle these games and prove something when you go against Power 5 teams?
Yeah, I don't think our guys look at it as proving anything. I do know that they grew up in this region, the majority. 81% of our guys. So anytime you can play a team that's within our region, think about our league. We don't get a whole lot of opportunities to play the teams that maybe some of those guys grew up watching. Not saying that they were, die hard to go to Indiana or whatever, but I think that does mean something. And so anytime someone comes in, especially a team that's undefeated, I think it's a big deal. It's a big deal, guys. I don't think they look at it any differently, being, the P words that we don't say. I think from not just because of what we did last year, but I think in general of what we pride ourselves on. But that doesn't sell it short of saying, hey, this is a 3-0 football team that you don't get a whole lot of these guys to come into your stadium at times. And so it's a big deal. It's a big deal for us. I'm sure it'll be a big deal for them because obviously last year, in their house, it didn't go the way they wanted it to. So in some ways, I think if I was them, I'd have had this one circled, ability to go on the road and kind of redeem what maybe we did to them last year. So the key is that we understand that. The key is that we prepare for that. But I think more than anything, our guys just love being at home and having the ability to play in front of a wild crowd.
Losing a guy like Malik Van, a super senior, Evans Phillips and Whyle played, how do you feel like they did in his absence?
They did a good job. I mean, we knew we were going to have to play 8 guys. That's I guess the good of how we've played the last few years. But it's hard. It is difficult. I mean, I not just feel bad for our team. I feel bad for Malik. I mean, it is a really difficult situation, to come back for another year and prepare really, really well, and then to have something like that happen. And it's not something you could avoid. I mean, there's not like, well, if I had done something different, I could have taken care of myself. And it's just one of those things that you got no explanation for. And so all around it, it's a tough situation, but it's a part of the game. And that's why we've been harping and hammering on those guys. I call them younger guys, but guys that maybe haven't played as much ball, that they're going to be a big part of this. And obviously Eric and Justin Watley and Noah Potter are the guys that probably maybe went from playing 40 snaps a game or 35 snaps a game to playing 50 snaps a game, or maybe they were only going to play 20 snaps. So we're going to have to be able to use those guys in some different ways and still be able to kind of roll them a little bit more. And got to find now for us, we got to find who is that 7th and 8th guy, and that's where Ryan Mullaney is also fallen into, really be able to help us a lot.
I know it's still early, but the advanced metrics are really good on Taj and Sammy in the slot. What have you seen just from evaluating film?
Well, if you haven't noticed, I think that they haven't been challenged maybe as much, and I think what people have done a little bit more is some of the motions. I think that's week 1. And it's been a little bit, I'm not saying copycat, but you tend to get those guys continue to do that. And, twofold. Is it because they've done a really good job? Is it the structure of what it is you're doing? Is it they're trying to take advantage of something else? Needless to say, I think we feel really good about what it is that they've done. The nice thing is, as you remember, Arquan had kind of played that position solely. And when he went out, I think that sometimes we threw Taj in there, but he didn't play a whole lot. And so I think the ability to play those guys, 50% of the time, they're subbing, whether it's every 2 series, every 1 series. I think it just gives us a lot more options, gets those guys a bit fresher, and they're both mature enough to handle. Because some guys would say, well, I'm better when I play the whole time. But the really mature ones that, even if they aren't in there, that are paying attention and watching, gain a lot more from even where their vantage point from on the sideline, as well as continuing to, be fresher and healthier. So they've done a really good job, and I think at some point in time, especially maybe this week with a lot of the space that these guys create, they'll be challenged a little bit more.
Brady Mark, the new Big 12 commissioner, he was here. He shared with us that he had a funny conversation with you about you ruining his homecoming to Indiana when you guys beat him last year. Do you remember that conversation when you played for you guys were there?
I don't know if I remember the homecoming part of it, but I remember that he had went to school there. I don't remember that he did. I think maybe he did tell me he was at that game, but I don't know as much about the homecoming. Well, I just wanted to make sure he knew where he was. Didn't lose sight of where his who's on his team. So even though you have alma maters, those things go in the background a little bit as you move into new things, and so I'm hoping he understood that.
Indiana, as you mentioned, spreads you out and throws it around a lot. How do you maintain that discipline as a run defense, though, to not lose sight of they throw so much?
Yeah, it's there's not a giant sample size too, because you're kind of looking around and obviously what Walt Bell, the offensive coordinator, had done in other places, or whether it was at UMass, and they've just got 3 games looking at them. So there's a lot of things that you're still trying to speculate, but this that they're going to spread the ball around. if you remember playing the UCFs of the world, I think that is very similar to what it is that they're doing. And the unique thing about UCF was that hey, if you didn't pay attention to the run, that's where they were most dangerous. Everybody talks about the shots down the field and the space, but their ability to have balance is what made them so good. And that's a little bit of the vision of what I see from Indiana. That sometimes you notice just the splits and the things like that, but their ability to still be able to run the football is, I think, where they create the difficult situations when you really got to they got a balance to what it is that they're doing.
So you mentioned throwing that ball around, then spreading that. You have a guy on Indiana's offense, Devin Matthews, smaller receiver, kind of move him around in that offense, whether it's in the slot, in the run game, spread him out. How do you guys prepare for a guy like him? Obviously, a smaller receiver.
Well, the good thing is we've got some pretty good slot receivers that we've gone against, every day, and that's where the Trey Tuckers and the guys that we face on a regular basis really, hopefully, prepare us for when we get opportunities like this. That our nickels and those guys that are in the slots have been challenged a lot. So the difference is they do create some more space with some of their splits and things like that. So there's always different things, and you got to be aware of it. But that's why I kind of said before that I think those nickels will have a little greater challenge on their hands, not just because of Matthews, but also because of how they use them, the space that they create. And that's a great challenge for us.
You mentioned how 80+% of your guys are from this area. Having Indiana come here, how much does that help with recruiting and you really honing in on it?
Well, 81% of our team are from a 300-mile radius. I wouldn't just say right here, but when you say that, you're talking from Chicago to Detroit to Pittsburgh to kind of Nashville, and maybe some would say and grew up in somewhat of Big Ten country, so they know a lot about whether it's the Big Ten or it's Indiana. We've got several guys from Chicago, and so they know a lot about the history of it, and so I don't know that they envision and understand and see for a Big Ten team or Indiana to come into our place is not as normal. Like, they don't always do these kind of deals. But I think for them, it's just the idea that, hey, this is a 3-0 football team. This is a team that really kind of helped us get on the track for where we were last year. And knowing that, when you beat somebody at their place, they've had this thing circled. So I don't know if they understand the magnitude of it, of maybe what has to go down to make these deals happen, nor does it matter. The reality is I think that they respect what it is and the opportunity that they've got.
There were some reports last year that Indiana maybe likes to peek over and take signals from the other side. Is that something you guys have dealt with or found a way to?
I don't know that. I guess I'd say that if you didn't think that everybody is doing some version of that, then you're probably blinded, and you got your head under that rock that I live in sometimes. It is what it is. I think we've always got to do a good job of changing things up, whether that's week to week, year to year, so I don't know. I mean, I think is the tempo, at least offensively, for them to steal defensive signals. I'm sure that's it's things that they look at, but as quickly as they go, it probably makes it a little bit more difficult on them. I don't know that they care as much about what it is that you're in. I think they focus a little bit more about themselves, but that doesn't go to say that we don't know that those things do go on every week, and you've got to find ways, because you get later in the year, everybody's got a pretty good book on what people are doing. There's TV copies, there's all kinds of things. So I think you've got to just be aware of it and know that each and every week you got to make some adjustments.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, sir.
Good.
We'll have Josh, Whyle, and Juan Briggs momentarily. tight end Josh Whyle up first. Questions for Josh?
Josh, it looked like whether it was going empty sets or, obviously you're comfortable splitting out wide, but it's moving you around the field. It seems like maybe under Gino there's some different ways to get guys open, whether it's you or the receivers.
Yeah, I think that speaks to how dynamic our offense is and can be. With everybody at running back, we got good depth, and the game that Trey and Tyler had. I think it just goes to show how dangerous we can be on the offense side of the ball.
Joe and then Chad in the front.
Hey Josh, this game last year was obviously a really big deal for this football team. We all know what happened at Notre Dame. There's probably being the signature win, but this kind of set up your team to start getting national attention. Do you recall how much this game meant to this team last year to go to Indiana with that win?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of, it allowed us to see, what kind of team we had. And it set the standard for this year, It showed us what we can do and what we can achieve, and that's our goal, and that's what we're going to go out to do this Saturday. Simple as that.
Is it a little more challenging this year, keeping focus, because so many guys are spreading the ball around, and you have to make sure you're ready at any point in time that Ben's going to try to stick it in there?
Yeah, I think, like I was saying, just with the dynamic offense, that was I was going through that a little bit last year, and I would just say to myself, being in the right spots at the right times, and Ben will find me. But other than that, just do your job, and, good things will happen. So.
The win last year there is one thing, but it wasn't a pretty first half. You guys were down at halftime and had a pretty big deficit, but were able to rally back from that. As one of the leaders of this team this year, what will you pull from that to help this team make sure they're successful this year?
Yeah. And that's how it was just this past week too. I thought we got off to a little rocky start. And as an offense, you got to start fast and you got to stay fast. I think we got to limit turnovers and penalties. I think that's going to be a key factor to this game. But at the end of the day, they're all X's on the board, and we just got to be us. It really comes down to that.
We asked Vic on Saturday about going down 10-0 and then kind of the way the team responded. He said it maybe felt like a little bit more calmer demeanor, compared to last year, and some of that's Ben's personality, some of that was the way that some leaders are this year. Do you sense that? Is it maybe a little bit calmer, different vibe?
Most definitely, and that's one thing you kind of think about going into the season. We have young guys on our team. But it was almost surprising to me, and kind of a relief that that they're very mature, and I think that comes from the guys that have led this program in the past, the Dez, the Kobe's, the Sauces. They set a standard, and that something that just all the young guys have looked up to.
Other questions for Josh? More? We good? Cool. One more, Joe, the man.
Sorry. Hey Josh, how big is this game? Look, Indiana comes here undefeated. You guys obviously have goals, what you want to accomplish this year. I asked Luke this question about the idea that you guys no longer have to prove yourself against these Power 5 schools, that you guys have already done that several times over. So how big is this game when you bring Indiana here, knowing that you beat them last year, you're going to get the best shot this year?
Yeah. You mentioned best shot. I think, they're going to come out, they're going to come out strong and fast. That's something to be ready for. On defense, I think they're physical up front. They like to disguise things on the back end, and move guys around up front. Sorry, what was the question? My bad.
It's not big of a game.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, I don't really feel pressure. I just like to think that just do what we do. Fick always says focus on us. And don't worry about outside noise or anybody that comes in here. You know, this is our house. No matter who comes in here, we got to protect it. It's plain and simple, and, you know, that's all I got on my mind.
Cool. Hey, great quote to end on, man. Great job, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
All right, we got our nose tackle here, Juwan Briggs.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Questions for Juwan?
Juwan, how important is it when you guys run that three-man front for you guys to be able to get pressure with just three guys rushing the quarterback?
Yeah, that does a lot of things for us. So it allows to take a little pressure off of, it allows us as D linemen to be able to dominate and be able to rely on our backing a little bit more. Because with 3D linemen, you have an extra skill guy back there. So, for us to be able to succeed doing that, it allows us to be able to play a little more fluently.
No Malik last week. How did you guys do, you think, with his absence, and how are you guys going to do going forward without him?
Yeah, one of the main things that coach really makes sure that we're doing, and it really starts with the seniors, is just making sure that everybody in the room is ready, no matter what. So even Leek will say it himself, he's a great player, obviously, but once again, we've been making sure that we got guys that are ready to go into the fire when needed. So people like Eric Phillips, Noah Potter, Laney, all those guys have been playing extraordinarily well. And I think that's just a testament to not only how the standard that Leek set by performing the way he does and training the way he does, but also the standard that coach has set for all of our D linemen to be able to just go in there when their name is called.
Give us a feel of what it's like as a defensive lineman watching Ivan just come out of nowhere and make plays the way he has so far this year.
Man, I'll tell you, it's kind of like I know he's behind me, I'll blink, and next thing you know, he's in the backfield. I mean, that's probably one of the freakiest guys I've seen on the field. I mean, he's just so fluent out there. It's kind of weird, but obviously, I'm grateful to have that guy playing behind me with Hughes, and I think it's just awesome.
How quickly did you know, like in practice or just being around him once he got here, this is going to be a dude that makes us significantly better?
Oh, man, our first practice, I remember as soon as he came here, first practice, we were running around and stuff, playing around, mind you. We weren't even there in team, and we were just tossing the ball around. I saw him run, and just out of nowhere, like I said, he comes out of nowhere, just caught the ball, like right in front of my face. I'm like, where'd this dude come from? Like, I'm over here throwing the ball in the corner, but I mean, that's just, I guess that's just him. That's just Ivan.
This Indiana team is coming back for vengeance. Probably feels slight from last year as if it were an upset. When a team is coming out hungry like that, being the physical player that you are, how do you match that intensity mentally?
Mm-hmm. So one of the main things that I'd say is important from a D-line standpoint is no matter what, you're going to be coming in contact with somebody every play. So I try to treat that as, just come off the ball come off the ball with the same mentality every time and let everything else take care of itself. Of course, with a great Indiana team coming in, got a lot of downhill runners, obviously coming back for vengeance and, coming off a 3-0 start. They're coming in with some oomph to them. So I feel like it's going to be important for us to, start fast, play aggressive, as you said, and, just really have a good showing out there in the net.
There are reports that Indiana's down to their third string center. Is this a situation where you kind of dig deep into that veteran bag of tricks on potentially a guy that, probably hasn't taken a whole lot of reps live?
In my head, I'd say, hey, That guy earned his COA. He's a scholarship player as well at a Big Ten. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, he might be the best center they got. So, I'm gonna get after him as well as I get after, the first string or whoever would be out there. But I say it's more so of a mindset, coming to play the team than coming to play an actual person.
Justin.
You're a local guy. Thoughts on Dante's skyline order?
Man, honestly, I'm a Gold Star guy. Contrary to popular belief, but but as soon as I saw that article come out about 7 fried stuffed Cholitos, I was like, man, yeah, it makes sense why he was 360 when I first saw him. But I mean, man, Dante is probably, I mean, he's another one of the freaky guys too from Coleraine. I mean, guy came here 360. He's down to like 315 running around, sometimes moving faster than I do. So, I mean, that's just, I say that's a testament to his work as well. But, nah, that order was ridiculous. I don't know who let him eat like that.
So what's your Gold Star order?
Nah, I've always been a Coney guy. So I'll just get a chili cheese dog.
Just one?
Nah. Nah. It's got to be at least 3. At least.
Any other questions for Juwan? Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.